Okay, thank you. All right, so I've been a disciple of POGIL for over a decade and a half, most of my professional life. And in the before times, I'd settled on a pretty classic POGIL classroom technique. My students spend most of their time in groups of about 3 or 4. Those groups stick together for about 4 or so weeks. And I'm a POGIL fundamentalist. I actually prefer that the students come in cold for this, meaning that the activity that we got planned for that day is actually their first introduction to that concept. And then they spend most of their time working collaboratively on a paper activity. Again, I'm pretty old school in that aspect as well. At certain key points, groups put their answers up on the board, we compare notes, and at the end of the class period, they spend some time thinking about what they learned or what they think I was trying to teach them. Obviously, that all changed in March of 2020, where after trying to excise lectures from my classroom activities completely, I had to search for backups and start recording lectures and all that. In the fall of 2020, our university actually allowed us some in-person activities if we wanted, but the restrictions were severe enough that they were just completely incompatible with any type of active collaborative learning. But I thought one thing that they did do is allow us to have completely synchronous remote courses, which they didn't before. And I thought that actually might be better for collaborative learning than actually the in-person with the restrictions. So the thought was that I would simply present the model, which is used on a piece of paper to the students on a PowerPoint like this. So here's the model for part of the nuclear chemistry activity that I have for them. And rather than, so I just give them this, in the model in this case is simply that equation that's on there. They are guided to add up the atomic numbers on the bottom and the mass numbers on the top and come up with the conservation rule on their own. And the idea was that I would give them this model, send them into breakout rooms, and then come back and report their answers. And so that was the hope. And this is how it went. Couple of issues. First of all, the university and the instructor did not do a particularly great job of explaining this new format. So I had a lot of students that for legitimate reasons couldn't actually make the scheduled class meetings. And the students had more difficulty working together than I thought they would. So I've had a lot, one is the very obvious random connection and hardware issues that we've all dealt with. The other one was the screen share, unfortunately, does not transfer to breakout room. So they had to manually write down the model, whatever it was, and the questions. And that took more time than I thought it would. And the students, a lot of other presenters have mentioned this, that they have problems sharing intermediate work. Best case scenario, they worked on their own and then compared final answers, but usually they just sat there and said, what do you think we should do? What do you think we should do? And all that. As the instructor, I had, there were issues with interacting with the groups. One is that, at least for now with Zoom, you can only interact with one breakout room at a time. And that 5 to 10 second lag that it takes to go from one group to another adds up when you're doing it 50, 60, 80 times in one class meeting. But the one thing that I was not prepared for was the importance of the actual paper worksheets that my students used in the before times. And so that was, and this way, things are spaced out. They can write stuff on there. They could, show it to their friends or to their group mates. So, but I'm stubborn. So that was the fall. The spring, everyone did a better job of doing these requirements. Requiring hard copies was actually helped a lot. So I made PDFs. Next time we have to do this again, I'm going to just have them printed off at the bookstore, have them pick them up. And I started, but didn't get very far in having the kids rig up their own document cameras. This way, they're not camera shy. The work is much more easy to see with the group mates. And so if you're working on this and still working on this, have them do this. That's my suggestion. Thank you.